Well, to help break all of this down, I'm joined now by political commentator Josie Pagani. Kia ora, Josie. Thanks very much for speaking with us tonight. Any surprises for you in today's announcement?
I think the big surprise, Ingrid, was the increase in the minimum wage by $1.50. That's a big increase, and that's quite substantive. That shows, I think, a new Prime Minister, Chris Hipkins, promised to return to bread and butter issues, to move the Labour Party, if you like, out of the university common room and into the smoko room. So back to its major, historic mission of putting money in the back pockets of working people. So I think that's quite a shift. It's a rebalancing, if you like, away from that sort of identity politics to a focus on inequality, poverty, and so on. So I think that was quite a substantive signal that took people by surprise.
It would have taken the business community by surprise, and not a pleasant one for them, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, business always pushes back on a minimum wage. It's a cost to them. I get that. I've got friends in hospo and retail who they have to take that on the chin, and it hurts in a short-term way. But I don't know businesses that have gone under because they've had to increase the minimum wage by a little bit. And you'd have to say those on the bottom rung of the income scale in New Zealand need a helping hand with 7% inflation. So this is really just in keeping with inflation, and it kind of matches those that have had a wage increase last year because of inflation. So I think it's begrudging to really critique this too much. It is something that people need. And, when you look at Ryman's, where they've made a 44% profit last year, they can afford to pay a bit more in aged care, for example.
OK, so the policies that did end up on the cutting room floor, was that about saving money or just getting rid of unpopular policies, or a bit of both, do you think?
Definitely a bit of both. So there are savings. About $40 million was tagged to actually set up, say, the merger with TVNZ and RNZ. We don't know how much of that has already been spent, so we don't know how much was saved. But we will save the $210 million that was going to cost each year to run this merger. And we'll also save money on the social insurance scheme, which was going to insure those who lose their jobs. And that was going to cost billions, up to $3 billion a year. So there are definitely savings. But I think what this was Chris Hipkins reading the room. He knows that a lot of the policies under the Jacinda Ardern government weren't popular. So he's just jettisoned those, and he's read the polls, and he knows cost of living, inflation, health, crime. These are the things that we want the government to focus on.
So they've cut some of that deadwood policy, but it has left them open to criticism from the opposition, saying, well, what do you actually stand for now? What do you have to show for the past 6 years? Do they have a point there?
They definitely do have a point. I think that's probably their most effective attack on the government. This is the same government in effect. And you'd have to say delivery has been the major challenge for the government. So you look at Kiwi Build, you look at the promise to transform New Zealand to deal with child poverty. And child poverty is maybe slightly better than it was, but it hasn't been transformed, that's for sure. So yes, we banned guns, semi-automatic guns, after the terrible Christchurch shooting. And we've responded well to a crisis, COVID and so on. We've banned plastic bags. Then what? I'm not sure. So I think it's a good sign. It's a good sign from the opposition that they know that it's a attack line. It's a better attack line, I think, than saying don't raise the minimum wage.
Yeah, Josie, thanks so much for your analysis tonight.
Thanks, Ingrid.